The conference is now in silent mode.
All right, well, welcome everyone to this month's NHSN vendor call. I'm Barry Rhodes. I'm the development team lead for NHSN. I'm just going to say a few words before I turn it over to Mindy. Today we're going to get in the weeds with Direct and talk about the transport protocol that we've been working on. I think many of you know about. I will say that Atlanta is experiencing a bit of snow today, which is something we rarely get. And one of the unexpected consequences, at least for me, is that some of our phone lines are actually busy, and we can't get through on some of the lines out of CDC as well as our cell phone lines. So if this call happens to get dropped and we not get back on, we'll blast you an email and start all over again or reschedule. So bear with us. Atlanta doesn't really have a lot of experience with snow, so it's a big deal here. I know those of you in the north are laughing at us now, but I just wanted to say a few words about Direct. We've been working on it for some time. Mindy's going to get into the weeds on this, but I just want you to remember that, at a high level, what we're talking about is you pushing data to a health information service provider, that health information service provider sending data to our health information service provider, HISP, and us pulling data down from there. And then the response is going back the other way. So we're going to talk a lot about some very weedy ideas and things that we need to do, but I want you to keep that in the back of your mind that that's really what we're talking about here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mindy. When we're done, I'll spend a few minutes and talk about what we're looking forward to in the next meeting with some of the innovations that we've been working on. But for now, take it away, Mindy.
Good afternoon, everyone. For this webinar, we plan to discuss, these are the highlighted items: the NITOR group, the Direct project protocol, Health Information Service Provider, also known as HISP, facility OIDs, and CDA Automation Sign-up process, edits and changes, notification report, and the SSI and Procedure linking. So NHSN CDA Automation. Direct CDA Automation is an alternative method to import CDAs into NHSN as opposed to manual CDA import. Sending via direct method is a simple, secure, scalable, standards-based way for participants to send authenticated, encrypted health information directly to NHSN over the Internet. The facility user will enroll in CDA Automation and receive approval notification. Once approved, the user shall send CDAs via direct method and/or continual manual import. The CDAs shall be validated upon import, and a notification report grouped per zip file shall be returned to the direct email address. So at a high level, that's our main points. NITOR group, I think you've already seen this slide before. NHSN competitively awarded a contract to NITOR group for the Health Information Service Provider services. NITOR group will provide a HISP allowing the send of data securely and reliably to NHSN using the NwHIN Direct protocol. They will provide transport of messages, each with an attachment less than 1 MB, so that rule stands for us, and with read receipt. They will receive direct messages from U.S.-based HISP that meet direct project specifications and will manage all trust relationships with other HISPs. So this is a brief slide, just direct project best practices. Use direct project protocol if you are creating your own HISP. This is just a snippet that I got off the internet on their some of their specifications and preconditions and so on, and then the websites below that for the websites that you will use if you were interested in creating your own HISP. So let's talk one about the Health Information Service Provider, the HISP. So as a vendor, you'll need HISP capability. You can either create your own HISP or sign up with an established HISP. So whatever you do or whatever method you choose, then you'll need to have the capability to obtain a direct address that the facilities or you will use, depending on how you manage it. Many HISP are available. There's state HISP, private HISP. HISP, just wanted to mention this, HISP that we use for our pilot were HealthBridge and NITOR Group. So management of direct address. There's many ways you can do this, and so this will be up to you, but you can manage it at a facility level, a vendor level, a hospital system level, and a corporation level. There's many different scenarios. For multiple facilities, the same direct address is required to be used for each facility in the same zip file. The PDF notification report will include all CDAs in that specific zip file. And you'll need to determine who is going to have access to the direct address and or view the notification report. So your specific scenario will determine if a facility's direct address needs to be unique or shared. So most facilities that are interested in doing this probably are doing manual import, and they already have an OID, an object identifier. But for direct, each facility is required to have an OID when sending CDAs. If they don't, here's a link to obtain an OID. If you have a huge corporation and you need a lot of OIDs, then just send an email to the NHSN CDA mailbox, and we'll work with you in creating a spreadsheet for a large number. So you are required to enter your facility OID into NHSN user interface, and I'm sure everyone knows this by now. You click on facility, facility info, and enter your OID into the object identifier. Make sure if you have new users that they have to actually click tab and then update before it saves. I think we've got some issues in the mailbox based on that. So just a recap of the prerequisites. Obtain services of a HISP or create your own. Determine how to organize facilities for direct address assignment. Obtain direct address. And the facility must be enrolled in NHSN, and the facility OID must be entered into the NHSN user interface. So, as Barry mentioned, we start getting down into the weeds. So, here's another high level. We're going to try to keep you in a high level and then get into the weeds and then bring you back to a high level. And there's also another diagram. Just to remind you that it's not as complicated as we keep talking about if you keep the high level in mind. So for a high level CDA automation sign-up process, you sign up in the user interface. The NHSN performs a check to see if the direct address already exists on the production whitelist, and that would mean that it was already active. If no, then the next steps occur. So there would be an exchange of digital certificates between HISP. The next step would be a ping test. The NITOR group sends an email that has an attachment from the NHS enrollment mailbox to the facility's direct address. Then the next step would be the pong test, and the facility technical point of contact, TPOC, sends an email from the direct address to the enrollment mailbox. And then all that processes, everything works great. You get an active status email sent from the production to the direct address, and also in your user interface, it'll switch to active. And all this we will walk through one step at a time. And then you get ready, and then you're ready to send CDAs via CDA Direct Automation. So that's sort of the high level of all the steps. So here's the diagram, which makes it look a lot simpler. So the first one, we'll talk about the facility enroll for CDA automation. So the sign-up process. So you need to collect the required information to complete the NHSN Direct CDA Automation Sign-up screen within the user interface. So these are the 4 fields that will need to be supplied to the user or whoever's signing up the facility. So you'll need a direct address, which is the direct address from which your facility will be sending data from. You'll need the name of the HISP. You'll need the HISP technical point of contact email and the facility technical point of contact email. And that would be the email of the technical contact at the facility or a vendor that will assist the facility with the direct sign-up. Here's a screenshot of the user interface. So a user with rights to manually import CDAs into NHSN will have the rights to sign up a facility for direct CDA automation. So the user logs into their facility, and then over on the blue navigation bar, they click on Facility, and then CDA Automation, and this screen comes up. You'll see it has the facility ID and the OID are already in there. They're grayed out. You cannot edit them. And then the fields for the direct address, the HISP technical point of contact email, and the facility technical contact email. So the user completes the required fields that are shown in the red bar right here, and then clicks Submit. An auto-generated status field is viewable to show the facility's progress in the sign-up progress. And you can see where the red arrow is. It should say pending or active. So the status pending initiates an email to be sent automatically to the HISP technical point of contact so they may perform the next steps. In the email that is sent to them, instructions are included. And then we also CC the facility TPOC just so they can know what's going on in the process. So the next step is we're going to do the HISP. The HISP will exchange certificates in the yellow. So the HISP technical point of contact gets the email, and they have to decide a couple of things. They're going to establish a trust relationship with the NITOR group HISP by forwarding an email to, there's the address, to NHSN-direct@nitorgroup.com with certificate in the subject line and the certificate attached if they need to exchange certificates, or they verify the trust relationship with NITOR group HISP exists and forward an email to the same address with ready for ping test in the subject line. So these are examples of the 2 choices that the HISP technical point of contact would select to do. This is an example of the email that is sent, the automated email that's sent out. So the subject would be Direct CDA Automation initiated, and here's the facility ID, has the facility name, OID, the direct address, the health information service provider name, his technical point of contact, and facility technical point of contact. So you see it's all the information that the user completed in the user interface. So down below is in the email of the body also is the instructions. So basically it tells them a user has initiated the sign-up process, and as the HISP technical point of contact, they need to complete the following steps. So basically, the first question is, does this facility's direct domain already have a trusted relationship with the NHSN direct domain? And if no, then it tells where to go. They'll need to exchange certificates. It tells where to go download the NHSN direct digital certificate, and you'll need to install in your key store, and then forward the email and exchange your certificate with them. If yes, if they already had an established trust, then you're all ready to go and ready for the ping test. And then in all the emails, they give instructions, and it has at the bottom of sort of what to expect for the next step. So that's an example of the HISP TPOC email. So next, we're ready for the ping test. So the ping test serves as a verification of the trust relationship between the two HISP domains. Nitro Group will send a ping test email with a zip file attachment from the NHSN enrollment to the facility's direct address. The email includes a zip file named CDA Automation. Do not unzip that. It is just it's a file that contains about 500 CDAs, and it's really used for the Pong test to validate that a zip file will not error when attached to the direct email. So it's for the next step. And next, we're ready for the Pong test. So the Pong test serves as verification of the trust and the facility's ability to send a zip file. So from the facility's direct address, the facility TPOC copies the email from the body of the ping test email and sends a Pong test from the direct address to the enrollment mailbox. So when you do, you'll need to, the subject line is required to be changed to Pong test and the facility ID number added. So this time it's putting an association between your, it's going to look up your ID. And then you'll say Pong test. Make sure you have a space there, colon, all caps, and your facility ID. And make sure the CDA Automation zip file is attached. So you'll send that. And next is the validation process. So the test message validation, the Pong test email with a zip file attachment is processed and validated in NHSN. This serves as a final verification for the following. Make sure there's a trusted direct connectivity between the NHSN direct domain and the facility's direct domain, the facility's ability to send the zip file, and NHSN's ability to process the zip file. So now it passes validation and become active status. So validation occurs. An email notification is sent to the facility's direct address. And the email notification will state, this facility has been approved for direct CDA automation, and the status is set to active. The facility may begin sending CDAs from your direct address to the production mailbox at production@direct.nhsn.us. So that's what your email will look like. So when you go, your active status, when you go to the user interface, you'll see that the status has flipped to active. And at this point, if needed, the facility TPOC or a vendor or somebody may need to instruct users on how to send CDAs using the direct method of transport. So now we've gotten the first facility signed up. So if, say, you're a corporation and you want to send many of your facilities using the same direct address, we'll discuss that. This is a diagram. So basically, it will say in the yellow, the facility enrolls, and there's a validation to check to see if that direct address is already used and on the white list and is in active status. So once that address sees it, everything goes, it'll flip right over to active status, and you will not have to do the ping and the pong. So basically, as I said, once first facility is in active status, other facilities using the same direct address may be signed up. Validation occurs to verify the direct address exists in the production whitelist. The user must refresh the UI screen so the status will change to active. So to refresh the screen, you would click on the CDA Automation again. And I have arrows before I didn't point out, but you can see this is another facility. The other one was Manor Estates. This is South Manor Estates. And you'll see all this information is the same as in the first one we signed up, and the status is active. If you make a mistake or there's a change, you can actually edit some of the fields. So the following fields may be edited when enrolling: the HISP name, the HISP TPOC, and the facility TPOC. So those in the red arrow, if you make a mistake or want to change it, you can actually go in and edit those. When you fill out the new information, you would click Edit, and you get a warning, just making sure that the warning edits to the fields may change your ability to use CDA Direct Automation, and just warning you, you may need to sign up, but if you're sure, you click OK. And it'll warn you, and we'll talk about this next, that if you wish to edit the direct address, you will need to check the box for Remove CDA Automation first. So we'll work through that slide in a second. So we say OK, and everything gets edited. If you want to change the direct address, you'll need to basically remove the information and re-sign up because of the association between that direct address and your facility ID, OID, and so on. So direct address is non-editable, and the user must re-enroll. You would check the box, move Direct CDA Automation, and click the Edit button, and it's going to give you a warning. Are you sure? You click OK, and then it says the facility has been successfully removed, and you'll see all the information here has been removed. And then you just begin the sign-up process over again. So here we are at a recap of our CDA Automation sign-up process. The facility enrolls for CDA Automation. The HISP exchange their certificates. Ping and PONG test validation occurs, active status. Once that's done, the second facility can sign up using that same direct address, and it'll go basically the quicker path to active status. Next, we'll talk about CDA import via direct and notification. So this is just a little high-level diagram. So we're going to send CDAs via HISP using the direct address. The NHSN processes the CDAs, and then the notification report returned to the direct address. So here's actually a screenshot. An example of sending CDAs via direct, and this is using the HealthBridge as the HISP. So this is an example of what their user interface HISP looks like. When you log in, it's simple, it's basic. You log in, and you can see right here is the orange, says that was my direct address for testing that we used. So that's where it's coming from. This is where we're sending the email to at production@direct NHSN. And you'll see the subject line is whatever you want to put. And then you have your zip file attached down here at the red arrow. And then you click Send. This is an example of a CDA notification. So we've sent it, but now I'm showing you we've gotten it back now. It's from production, and it comes right back to your direct address, you can see here. And it would come in and say CDA Automation Notification, and it gives me my facility ID. And it has, I opened it up. You can see down here, I opened up that email, and here's my, here's an example of a zip file attached. So you would, when it comes back, if I wanted to look at that zip file, I would need to save the zip and then open it up and look at it. So inside the zip file, it contains the following: a PDF, an XML, and a style sheet to render the report. The naming convention of the zip file, it can be either facility ID number, as in this case. So this was a zip file that only contained CDAs from one specific facility. Facility ID was 17054. So you'll see that right here is what that means, and then it has a date timestamp. If it is multiple facilities that were inside the zip file, it would say multi-facility, and then also the date stamp. So these are examples of the notification report of the PDF. You're used to looking at these. These are the same PDF that you get with your manual imports. The only difference will be if it is from multiple facilities, it would have multiple facilities here. And if you noticed in our last release, that's why we added the facility ID down here. That came out, I believe, in the last summer's release. We had to add that to it, so you could keep track of which facility it was. If it is only CDAs from one facility, it has the facility here and the facility ID. So this one will look exactly like what you're used to getting with the facility name up there. So those are only two differences. This is an example of the XML render with the style sheet. Basically looks just like the PDF, a little bit more not as stylized, but very, very similar. And just gave you an example of the XML. You'll see that the code that's written in there. All you developers probably recognize what that's for. That was actually the header table that's in the top. Just want to remind you, I know we have been talking about this for the last year or more. The procedure IDs in the SSI and Procedure CDA are required to match for linkage to occur when importing via CDA Automation. I've sent out helpful hints documents with these details, so if you need them, I can send them out again. Just send an email to us. For manual import, the procedure ID is not required, but if it's there, that's great, and it is validated. We've created two different user guides, a technical versus more of an admin. The technical user guide has it's a detailed user guide for direct CDA Automation Sign-up. It's pretty much some of these slides you saw just condensed down into actually a front and back of a page. So it has the steps, and it might be just helpful for you to look at that when you're in your process of signing up. The admin guide is only a one-page document. A lot of the technical information's removed. It was what we imagined just a user would need to sign up for CDA Automation. We're going to send these out and the slide set after the webinar. We'll send them out tomorrow. So we'll provide those to you. Okay, now I'm going to turn it back over to Barry.
Great, thank you, Mindy. We'll take questions in just a minute, but I wanted to just first of all wrap up and say thank you for all those who've attended. As many of you know, we have the next release of NHSN scheduled for later this week. We assume that schedule is still on. Direct will be a part of that release. We are currently experiencing a bit of a firewall issue with Direct, and so we're hopeful that firewall issues will be resolved. They're certainly not present in our development or staging environments, but somehow when we look at production, there's somewhere a firewall policy that's not allowing us to read data. We anticipate that we'll get that resolved, but in case we don't, we'll send out a blast email to everyone, regardless of the determination, whether it's successful or whether we have to wait a few days. I can't imagine that it will take more than a day or so to figure out the firewall issue, but stay tuned for that. So we consider this something of a soft release for Direct for now. We're certainly interested in getting your feedback. We've thought through this a lot. We've worked through alpha and beta testing, but we know it's not perfect yet. So please let us know how we can improve things and make this better. I did want to mention before we go to Q&A that next month's vendor call is going to be dealing with what we call NHSN Innovations work. And these are some of the things that I've talked to some of you about. These are the ventilator-associated event web services that we are currently beta testing. I mentioned, I think, to some of you at APIC last year that we were working on a pre-production test instance of NHSN. So this would be an instance of NHSN that would be available to you for testing prior to us releasing it. I know that's been an issue for many of you for your testing purposes. We're actively working on that, and we're pretty close to having that up and ready. So we'll talk more about that. We've been talking around here about a gold standard for some data set, a synthetic data set with embedded HAI events that you could import into your test systems. And if you're running algorithms to detect some of these HAIs, you'd be able to run those algorithms against this test data set and validate that your algorithms are in agreement with NHSN's determinations. So we think that's a really interesting idea. I know it's been done in other places, but we'd certainly like to hear your feedback and thoughts on what that's going to be looking like. Arun Srinivasan has been working on that. We've been talking about a possible vendor portal, which is basically a website devoted to vendors to help you in understanding, getting all this information in one location, and just a whole host of capabilities that we want to put under this portal. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And lastly, we want to talk again about how we can make NHS reporting easier for you so that you can be more productive. It's our goal to make this as easy as we possibly can. I know it's not easy. CDAs are difficult. Direct is difficult. But we really want to make this as easy as we can. So we're open to hearing your feedback and suggestions about how we can move forward with electronic reporting, which we see as the future for NHSN. So with that, we will open this up for questions.
The conference is now in talk mode.
Hey guys, this is Paul, also from CDC, and I just wanted to address a couple of the Q&As that came up during the webinar. I'm signed in separately from Mindy and Barry, so we'll keep an eye on that. One of the questions was about the issues with